are starting today's practice on our backs, if you feel comfortable there. Legs may be extended long down the mat, or that might be a little too much for the low back, and you might decide that you want to start today's practice with bent knees. Whatever you decide is going to be okay with me. So just let your back make some connection with the earth. Resting here on the ground, maybe letting the shoulder blades walk themselves out from underneath of you. Maybe resting the back of the head comfortably into the earth. And it might feel nice to let the arms stretch wide or reach up overhead to start to kind of move around a little more freely on the earth. And just make little connections. Today's point of focus, our opening intention, our opening meditation is going to begin with one of our Power Thought cards. So drawn from the deck from the Lee K Power Thought card, today says, I love being me. I no longer judge or criticize myself. I am free to love who I am. I love being me. So giving yourself some space here on the earth, we're going to start with a new style of breath, maybe new to some of you. We're going to do box breathing today, or square breathing. So with your eyes closed, rested there on the earth, I want you to begin to visualize a box, or even just a rectangle or a square. Maybe even with the eyes gently blinked open. If you have squares on the ceiling, you can look up at your ceiling as a place of focus. Whether you're visualizing or actually looking at a square, see it as having 4 sides, and where those sides come to meet together, a little connector point. As you inhale, allow your mind's eye to travel up the side of the square. Pause. And then as you exhale, slide your gaze across the top edge of the box or the square. Pause. As you inhale, allow your mind's eye to travel down the side of the square. Pause, and then draw along the bottom edge of the square. Now, if your eyes are closed, you can also do this with the tip of your nose and physically shift the way your head rests on the earth and draw a square as you move through your inhales and exhales. Giving our mind something very simple to focus on, simply drawing a square using your breath. Continue to draw one more square, inhaling up the side, exhaling over the top, inhaling down the other side, exhaling along the bottom edge. Beautiful work. As your next natural inhale comes around, start to bring the hands so that they lift straight up towards the sky. So if you're rested on your back, your arms are extended and your hands are lifting up towards your ceiling. As you exhale, bring your elbows down so that they kiss alongside the edges of your body. And then inhale, push back up towards the sky. Exhale, bring those elbows back down. Of course, our legs can be long or knees can be bent, reaching up, and then exhaling to come back down. Inhale to reach up. Exhale to settle the elbows down on either side of the body. As you feel ready, inhale, breath, reach the hands up towards the sky. And then exhale, let the arms go long, reach them up overhead. Inhale, bring those arms back up. Exhale, let the arms go long, reach overhead. Inhale, bring the arms back up. Last one, stay here. Let the arms go long. If knees have been bent, go ahead and walk the legs long down the mat. Point and flex your toes. Roll around your ankles. Open and close your hands. And then we'll walk the heels towards the right edge of the mat. Head, neck, and shoulders lift up off the earth and start to lean towards the right edge as well. So you're kind of creating a little bit of a banana shape. Opening up that full side body. Inhale, breath, head, neck, shoulders move back to center. Feet again move towards center, and then we go the other side. So walk the feet towards the left edge, head, neck, shoulders, lift and move over towards that left edge of the mat. Arms still extending nice and long. Letting that side body get some length. Perfect. As you feel ready, heels start to walk back towards the middle of the mat. Head, neck, shoulders, back to center. Inhale to lift the hands back up nice and tall. Point them to the ceiling. And then exhale, elbows down on either side of the body. Fingertips are still pointed up to the sky. As we bend our knees, we're going to walk the heels of the feet in a little closer to your glutes. Settle those feet down into the earth and then take a nice inhale breath, pushing backs of arms into earth. Hips lift up off the ground, bridge pose. Holding here for 2 more breaths. Next, natural inhale, heels lift up off the ground, hands come down for support. Start to lower down 1 vertebra at a time. Last thing to hit the mat is going to be those heels. Arms stretch out into a T shape, and then we just let our knees rock and roll side to side. Opening up that side body. Just take your time here. Perfect. Once you feel ready, those knees are going to come back to center. And then we'll just hug them into the chest. We're going to move ourselves up to a seated posture, whether you roll to one side and push into the earth, or you kind of rock and roll forward and back on your spine. Come to your seat. I'm going to turn just so I can see you a little better. Hands start to reach out towards the sides of you. Make your spine nice and tall and proud. Inhale, reach the hands high up to the sky. And then exhale, let your right hand fall down towards the earth. Start to reach over with that left arm. Give yourself a breath here. And then we'll inhale this all the way back up to center. Start to take your time over to the other side. Back up to center, back to that first side, adding this time the hand that's in the sky. It's going to come just outside that knee, kind of closing the door, giving us just a little twist there. Beautiful. Inhale, hands reach. Exhale, take it down, hands, and then just outside that knee. Perfect. Big inhale, bring your hands up. And then we're just going to exhale and let these hands fall forward just outside of our feet. Maybe the hands take 1 or 2 steps forward, hinging at that hip crease, keeping the chest nice and long. pulling through the crown of the head, relaxing over your lap. Inhale, breath starts to walk these hands back towards your body. Okay. And then we're just going to move on to hands and knees. So taking your time, start to build tabletop, wrists under shoulders, and knees under hips. Immediately move into some cat-cow, fluid movement with the spine, letting the belly drop on that inhale and rounding your back on the exhale. Taking whatever measures you need to get comfortable in your space. Just a couple more easy rounds of that cat-cow. Last one. Next time you hit your angry cat spine, go ahead and start to sit the hips back towards your heels. Hands walk up the mat. Take yourself into a nice full version of child's pose. Hands will start to walk towards the left edge of your mat. Just reach over here to the left. Sit into that right hip. As you reach to the left, you might even take your left arm down the mat so it can start to reach back towards the back portion of your mat. So you've got right hand over to the left side, but you've got your left hand kind of reaching back towards the back of your mat. Beautiful stretch for that side wall. Hands start to move back towards the center of the mat. Just take your time. Let them be small movements, controlled movements, and then we'll start to head to the other side. So hands moving now over to the right edge of the mat, sitting towards that left hip. Again, your left hand's probably going to stay just off the right edge of the mat, and you'll flip your left, or your right hand rather, back towards the back of the mat. Forehead can, of course, be down on the earth or hovering. Great. Easing your way back, we'll bring both hands back to the middle of the mat. Start to move yourself up onto hands and knees, and then we're just going to move with breath. So that's your inhale, and then exhale to sit back towards your heels. Inhale, put some weight into your hands. Exhale, put some weight into your heels. So this is just pretty fluid. You can decide if you take this all the way to a half plank on that inhale, or if it looks more like tabletop. And you can hold for a breath. If you get into a good spot, something feels good, you feel strong in your arms or your wrists, you want to hold that half plank for a second, feel free. Or if when you sit back onto your heels, something feels nice in your low back, you can stay there a little extra moment longer. Really reflecting on what feels good in your own body and taking whatever course of action makes most sense for the poses to stick with you. Next time you're back onto those heels, just take your time to slowly walk your hands towards your knees, and then we're going to come up onto high knees. So when you're in those high knees, I'm going to switch so I can see you a little better. When you're on those high knees, hands come down to the side. Inhale, breath. The hands are going to reach out in front of us and clasp as we slowly sit back slightly towards those heels. Exhale, breath. We come back up nice and tall and let that heart pop out. So it's kind of like almost like a little Jack in the Box type thing. You're kind of down and hidden, and then you're out and proud. So just take a couple more simple movements there. Toes can be curled under on your feet, or you can have those toenails rested on the earth. Next time you're back up to that tall spine, pause there, flip the palms to face the front, and then just starburst. Let them kind of wave back and forth. Yep, you know what to do. Now, when we reach the top, we're going to pause here for a moment. We're going to do something a little different today. I'm going to switch so you can really see what I'm doing. You're going to take your right hand down. It can go either just right here to your right hip, or you might be able to kind of wrap it around the back of your body. The left hand, as you notice, is up towards the sky. I'm going to lift with my heart and just look slightly upward. Almost a half camel type shape. We're going to do this a couple different variations today. So first, just like this, and then you'll see this arm movement several more times. Exhale, take the time. The hand that's in the sky starts to circle down. Invite this other arm back up, and then we go to the other side. So now I'm going to take my left arm down, let it hide behind my back, or touch on the hip. And then you can add that lift. Gaze might be upward. Perfect. Hand that's in the sky takes its time, starts to move down. Loosen those hands. Big forward stroke. Hands to the earth. Toes curl under. Downward facing dog. So here's your first one. Now, it's not uncommon for your first down dog to feel a little stiff. So if you need to walk this out a little bit, feel free to do so, placing some weight between the feet, opening up those shoulders and upper back. All right, beautiful work. Right knee drops to the ground. Left foot steps through towards your left thumb, and you're in a low lunge. If you have blocks and you want to use those, this would be a great place to put them. Or even just one block. Inhale when you're ready. Hands are going to lift up. And just set yourself. And whatever knee is forward, that's the hand that's going to wrap around your back like we just did, and then reach opposite arm up towards the sky. Big opener for that hip flexor. Beautiful. Let this hand that's been on your back rotate back around and up. Cartwheel forward towards your blocks. Stand the blocks up if you're using those. Pull the toes back towards your face and fold right over that hip crease. Counter pose. Perfect. Rocking a little weight back forward into this foot. You might turn your blocks back onto their side. Lift that back knee up off the ground. Give it a little break from being on the earth. Hands can stay here on blocks or on the earth. And then whatever knee is bent, that opposite hand is going to stay on the earth as you open up for a little twist. So if you've got your left foot forward, your right hand is going to stay on the ground, and your left hand will open. Perfect. Take your time, back down to the earth. You can drop to knees and go to child's pose, or you can take a big step of that front foot to the back of your mat and put yourself in downward facing dog. If you do find yourself in down dog, play with three-legged dog for a moment, maybe lifting the right foot up, bending the knee, even if you want a hip opener there. And then switch sides when you're ready. All right, as you feel ready, left knee hits the earth. Slowly and controlled, right foot steps through. So look for our low lunge on the other side. Take your time to get comfortable, get the blocks involved if you're going to use those. We start to bring our hands up when we feel ready. And then whenever knee is forward, that hand is going to reach around back like we did before. Opposite hand adds length. Maybe the gaze even goes upward. Perfect. Taking your time, we'll start to unwind from that. Hand comes up, Cartwheels down towards the earth, counter pose. You might even choose to stand your blocks up a little taller and bring those toes back towards your face. If you're just using one block, that's always fine. I usually, if I'm just using one, if I've got my right leg long, I would put the one block on my left side. But you can kind of play around with what feels best to you if you've only got limited props handy. Perfect. This foot starts to set itself back down onto the ground. If you've had high blocks, maybe you keep them high or maybe you flip them. Your knee might lift up off the ground and put yourself into just a big runner's lunge. If the right foot is forward, your left hand might stay on the ground and open that right arm into a twist. Perfect. Taking your time, hands start to look for earth. You can use those blocks if you'd like to, downward facing dog this time, with the blocks underneath of your hands, of course, if that feels good in your body. So just take your time. Down dog again, might have another three-legged dog. Might be opening the hip or playing around a little bit with your ability to balance. Lifting one leg up in the air. And then we're just going to get ourselves to a forward fold. So whether that involves a nice graceful jump or a couple little steps, or kind of crawling your way up there, whatever it is for you, take your time and then find a half lift. Long spine, crown points forward. Exhale, fold. Plant those feet into the earth. Give yourself a big lift to the sky on your inhale. Exhale, take the letter T. Take your right arm over and across the body, left arm underneath the right, and just give yourself a big hug here. Inhale, lift the chin. Exhale, bring the chin slightly down towards your chest. Inhale, take the arms back out to T, and then you're just going to flip whatever one was on top. That one's going underneath this time. Same hug breath. Chin lifts. Chin lowers. And pause right there. Beautiful work. Inhale, arms back to T. Exhale, release them down to the sides of the body. All right, half sun salutation. Inhale to find length of spine. Exhale, hinge at the hip creases. Fold yourself down, looking for the earth or maybe those blocks that you have handy. Give yourself a half lift, coming to a long spine, crown pointing forward. Exhale, fold. Plant the feet. Big inhale, reach it up. Exhale to that T again. Hug yourself. One arm on top. Doesn't matter which one goes first. Release back to the T. Hug yourself other direction. Release back to the T. And then arms down to your sides. This time adding a chair pose. As you inhale, reach high with the arms. Exhale, sit into an invisible chair. Maybe turning the pinkies in to face one another, really relaxing those shoulders. Looks great. Big fold down to the earth. Hands can hang out on blocks if you'd like. Coming up halfway with the inhale. Exhaling back down to the ground. So now our hands are just going to hover at the earth or set on blocks. We'll step our right foot back to the back of the mat and put yourself into a crescent pose. So that means arms are going to come up. This is a big test of balance. Ideally, your hips are straight forward. And then we're going to take those same arms we took on our knees. So if your left foot is forward, your left arm's going to come around and either hang out on your left hip or slide around your back. And then your right arm gets some length. Maybe even slightly pulling just back by the ear. You should feel a nice big stretch along that right side into the right hip flexor. Beautiful. From here, release this hand that's been behind your back, send it up to the side, and then we're just going to turn on this back foot until you can open yourself into a warrior two. Inhale, front knee straightens, hands reach up. Exhale, put yourself back into warrior two. So that's your little floating movement. Up and down. Up and down. Last one. Flip the front hand and lean away from me. Lean back into a reverse warrior. Back to warrior two. Find a side angle. Elbow looks for knee. Hand reaches long overhead. Perfect. Finishing off this series, we'll go back to warrior two. Straighten your front leg. Perhaps taking a slight turn of these back toes inward just a smidge, and then you'll find triangle. Reach that front hand forward. You've got blocks handy, so feel free to take one to the inside of that front leg. Your triangle can have an extended arm, or it might feel nice to kind of bring this elbow down a little closer to the side body. Still keeping the chest nice and square, nice and open. And then start to soften everything. Arms might come down, knee might bend, bring your chest back up. Look for one last warrior two. Gazing over that front hand. Beautiful. Start to cartwheel hands down towards the earth. Maybe using blocks. Spin on that back foot. Back knee drops to ground, and we're going to shift to lizard. So whatever foot is forward might walk outward towards the outer edge of your mat. You might be able to take this back leg and lay those toenails down onto the earth. You can have two blocks in your hands here and keep a nice proud chest. Or you can take any variations of bringing forearms down towards the earth, maybe even rolling towards the pinky side of that front foot toes there. I know some need something bigger, deeper. They end up kind of reaching backwards and grabbing hold of this leg and taking other variations of lizard. Feel free to kind of listen to your own body. If hips have been a little overworked this week, or it's just been a long time since you've worked your hips at all, this might be really tender, so kind of be kind. Don't feel like you always got to force yourself into the biggest shape possible. That's never the goal. Give yourself a little love here. Big full inhale through the nose. Exhale to release. If you've fallen forward with your chest, start to walk back up, maybe looking for your blocks again just to use as helpful assistance. You might choose to walk the foot back closer to the middle of the mat, maybe curling toes under on this back leg, going back to that lunge for a moment, or you can just start to step and move yourself either into downward facing dog, a full vinyasa if that's your style, or maybe just a child's pose. You can decide what point of rest you choose. Work as rest and a counter pose before we start shifting everything to the other side. Wherever you are, just start to take the adventure to move your feet back up here to your hands, knowing you've got blocks handy if you want to use that for your forward fold or your half lift. We're going to start to work ourselves back up to standing, so maybe use that half lift to get an inhale, exhale to release it, and find yourself back up nice and tall. Today's theme, when we exhale, we've been going to a T and giving ourselves a little embrace. Go ahead and move through that again. Opening back to T and then switching sides. Arms back to T. Inhale breath, bring hands overhead. Exhale breath, chair pose, bend the knees, sink in. Your chair can look like a lightning bolt with arms fully extended out, adding more strength, security, stability to the body, or you might choose to soften those arms into somewhat of a lotus hand. Exhale to float and fold down towards the earth. Inhale to come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Left foot steps back. So this is going straight into that crescent again. So you're just kind of hovering with those hands, getting that back foot in a nice place where the hips feel square, decent bend in your front knee, and you're ready to lift up into something that looks like a balancing act. It should probably feel that way too. Maybe the arms feel proud and tall. And then you do the same arms we did before. So this front knee, right for me, is forward. So I'm going to take my right hand back and either tuck it at my hip or kind of hide it behind my back. And the opposite arm gets length as I lift. Give just a slight variation of a back bend here. Nice big stretch for that hip flexor. Great for those who have careers that find themselves seated a little more than they'd like. This is a great way to keep the legs and hips nice and open, alleviating some low back pain. And we can keep those hips ready to be used. All right, softening the arm that was on your back. Start to bring it up perhaps as you kind of twist and come out of that. Moving into warrior two, just as we did before, arms are stretched nice and wide, and then we immediately kind of dance. So we let the front knee come up, hands reach up, and then we're back down. And this can be kind of any variation. You can be much softer, of course, with bent elbows, or you can add a gaze up and a big stretch of the arms. Last one. Back into your warrior two shape, reverse warrior, hand flips, and we dance away. Hold your reverse warrior for just a few more moments, really softening into that front knee, maybe even closing the eyes if balance allows. And letting your heart radiate out some positive vibes. Arm moves down towards knee, up and over, you got it. Side angle. Lots of length out through your fingertips. Moving from that side angle, we'll take our time to look for warrior two. With a straightened front leg, we start to transition into our version of triangle. I like to give just a slight little turn in of my toes on the back foot. Reach forward with that front hand, and then just start to tip down to something. It might not hurt to reach for your block. You can always keep a little micro bend in that front knee if you need it. Opposite arm can be reached up to the sky. Like I can see everybody's got their arm up. Or you can soften a little bit and bring that elbow down to the side of your body. What I do want you to consider is if you have any kind of design on the front of your shirt right now, if someone was standing in front of you, they'd be able to see the design on your shirt. If your top shoulders drop down towards the earth and your design is shining at the floor, see if you can do just a little bit of rotation through your chest to pull that design to the sidewall. Yep, you got it. Softening the front knee, take your time, come back up, and then you can cartwheel into whatever you want to transition out of this. Knees might drop to the ground, one or both. You might step to downward facing dog. You might put yourself in child's pose. You've got about 3 breaths wherever you decide to give yourself a reset. All right, as you feel ready, start to bring yourself back to awareness. If you're in down dog, let's drop our knees to the earth. If you're in child's pose, start to bring yourself to a tabletop. We're going to take our traditional table, but if you have 1 or 2 blocks, we're going to put those underneath our hands. If you have 2 blocks, this is pretty easy to set up. You bring the blocks so that they're right underneath your shoulders, you put them in your hands, and they feel like they make sense right away. If you're operating with just 1 block today, this might be a little bit more challenging, but usually you can bring your hands towards the outer edges of the block, or point your fingers forward, or skip it and don't use the block at all. But if you have 2 blocks, let's take ourselves through a little bit of cat-cow with those blocks. So you're not going to drop the belly quite as far. You're going to be more about lifting your heart through the center. And then when you take that cat spine, you've got lots of space underneath your hands. So it should feel pretty nice. Again, if this starts to irritate anything, trying to do it with blocks, you certainly can get rid of the blocks. Just giving you a little variety today. 1 more. All right, perfect. Back to table. Now, I realized that I forgot to let us lizard on the other side. So while we're at this table, we need to put our right foot forward so that we are down on our left knee. Blocks come towards the center of your mat. Start walking your right foot over towards the right edge, and we'll throw our lizard in right here. Now remember the same lizard shape we did on the last time. You might be rolling to the pinky side edge of that right foot. I know it's kind of hard to be seen on screen, and Julie, I'm kind of getting lost up here, aren't I? So you can always roll that out to the side if you need to. You can bring blocks down to the earth, maybe resting forearms down, or taking that stretch to reach back and make connection with that back foot. There's all kinds of different variations. You find the one that works best for you in this moment, and let's give ourselves about 2 or 3 more full breaths. Certainly do not want to leave out this hip stretch on this side since we spent so much time on the other side. I guess feel kind of wonky when we're finished. All right, as you feel ready, if you've had the knee out to the side, start to stand it back up. Start to move it back towards the middle of your mat. And then we're going to step into a big down dog just for a breath. So feet go back, hips lift up. 1 breath here. And then hands move themselves back towards your feet. So walking the hands backwards to the back of your mat instead of walking forwards, a little backwards is what we usually do. Your blocks are away from you, that's okay. Half lift. Exhale, fold, plant the feet. Big, strong inhale, reach up to the sky. Exhale, find your T again. Hug yourself. Inhale, nice big hug. Exhale, release. Inhale, nice big hug. Exhale, release. And then just let those hands fall down by your hips. All right, moving into just some traditional balance here. You'll root down through your right leg. I'm going to turn just so I can see you. Left toes can find just an easy kickstand today. Or if you want a little more challenge, maybe it's at the inner calf, or of course, inner thigh, or half lotus, wherever you may be. Find a place of focus that is on something not moving. Perfect. 1 last breath. Start to turn the knee that's been out to the side, point it forward, and then just give it a big kick. Maybe even flex those toes up to the ceiling. See if you can hold the balance. One more steady breath. Perfect. So it starts to move down to the earth. Separate, maybe move around here a little bit. You can have some fluid movement for those hips. You can take a big bend in the knees, maybe drop into a forward fold or a ragdoll pose. And then we'll start to lift back up if you've been in any version of a fold. Start to root down through the opposite foot this time. Thinking about tree on the other side, wherever that is for you. Hands maybe at the heart, or maybe this time your tree has hands lifted up wherever you are. Just remembering we want to keep this foot from pushing right on the inside of that kneecap, so we're either above or below the knee. Bringing your place of focus to something not moving. Starting to turn that knee that's been out to the side towards the front. Give it a big kick. Flex the toes back towards your face. Hold for a couple moments. Testing the strength in that standing leg, testing the lift and the ability to make that quad really respond. And then let it settle down. It might feel nice to turn yourself sideways on your mat and just take a nice big stance, nice and wide, and kind of sway here a little bit. Maybe hands drop towards your thighs, your toes turn outward towards outer edges of the mat. You can stay lifted here up a little bit higher, or if you want something bigger, you can drop down, do kind of a little half squat with the toes popping up. You can always invite a block in. Of course, if this is too big and not something you're interested in today, you can always skip it. All right, perfect. Coming back towards your center stance, just kind of walking the feet back underneath of you. You can go into a wide-legged squat, so you can turn your toes out, drop your feet right down in between your heels, use a block to sit on or put underneath your hands. If that's too much, you can certainly just drop your hips down into the earth, start to turn yourself so you're facing back up, square up your mat, and just grab a couple breaths. Sometimes if you're going to try to sit on your blocks, I have to take like both of them and make a bigger platform. It seems to be more like sturdy if you have more than one. All right, move your way down to the earth. Good work today. Just turn yourself so that you got lots of space when it's time to recline backwards. And if you've got a block handy, we're going to go ahead and use it when we go back to our back. I'm going to put one block in between my knees just to kind of keep those together and connected, and keep another block handy. If you only have one block, put it between your knees for right now. And then just start to see if you can lower back onto your back, bringing that block with you. Once you hit your back, stretch your arms to the same T shape that we found so many times today. And let this block be shifted right and left with the knees holding it in place. Now, it might feel nice at some point to take that second block that you had handy, bring it over to the side, let your knees fall all the way in that direction. You can catch it with the block, or you can let your knees fall all the way down into the earth. A big reclined twist here might feel really nice. So option to catch it with the other block, or just let those knees come down and find the earth. Where you put your gaze is going to determine how deep of a twist this is, however. So if you want to turn your gaze in the direction of your knees, that's going to soften this twist. If you turn your gaze to the ceiling, that's a good middle version. And then if you turn your gaze completely opposite of the knees, that's going to send it all the way up the cervical spine. As you feel ready, we're going to start to shift those knees back up to center. It might be smart to bring your hands down and just kind of let them be handy to help you bring those knees back, and then switch to the other direction. So if they've been off to the right, maybe now they go to the left. Arms might be in a full T or a softened version with bent elbows. Your gaze again might be at the ceiling, in the direction of the knees, or in the complete opposite direction. If the hands are willing, you might start to let them help phase you back to the center. And then you can either remove the block in between the knees or keep it there. If you've only got one block, it would be great to go ahead and remove it and start to put yourself into perhaps a supported shoulder stand. So that just means you kind of lift your hips up off the ground like you're going to do bridge, slide your block underneath. And then maybe you start to lift your feet up to the sky. You, of course, can stay in this shape as long as it feels good. Or if you're ready to start to move into your final savasana, you can take any other final closing postures you might feel necessary and start to move you into whatever shape you're going to call your final rest. Since you do have that block handy today, it might be nice to try a side lying savasana, taking the block back again through holding between the legs, rolling to your right hand side, maybe using your second block as a pillow, and rest yourself here on the side. This is just an option. Of course, if you'd like more of a traditional savasana pose, you're welcome to rest flat on your back. Obviously, if you're watching from home and you're a prenatal student, you'll want to be resting on your left-hand side. But we'll stay in this final shape for a few more moments. letting the body feel nice and heavy, resting down into the earth. And just when you hear the sound of my voice calling you back, we'll start to finish class. So you just decide where you feel most at ease and take your time to rest there for a few more moments. Embrace this feeling of love that you're giving to yourself, this time of self-care, this time of reflection, to no longer judge or criticize yourself. You are free to love just as you are. Slowly starting to become aware of your breath, allowing gentle movements to come back into the body as they feel ready. Maybe starting with something as simple as just a little wiggling of the fingers or a little wiggling of the toes. Maybe bringing your hands to the earth and pressing into the ground. Taking your time to come back up to a seated posture. Once you find that seat, just walk your hands one little step away from the body. Bring your chin down towards the chest. Let your head sweep a little bit right, a little bit left. Come back up to a tall spine and give yourself one more last hug. You can put the right arm on top first if that feels good, or the left. And then just switch. Eyes remain closed. Breath is slow and fluid. Feel this embrace as a reminder to yourself that you are worth loving, that there is plenty of space for love and no room for criticism and judgment. Bring the hands back together, let them find one another, palm to palm, maybe even pressing thumbs tighter into the chest to feel your heart. I greatly appreciate you making this time for yourself, not only for your physical body, but for your mind and spirit as well. May you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again. Namaste. Thank you.